Good evening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wrestleview Post-Raw, number 166. We're back with Victoria, finally.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, my goodness. It's been a while since we've done a show together. Wait, do I look? I forget. Yes, I have to go over this way. That's the way we usually do it.
I
forget.
I'm forgetting a lot right now. You have to bear with us, everybody.
It's been a long time since we've done one of these things together. So you must know that it's WrestleMania coming up. There's something big going on if you get the two of us on the show together here. This is very nice. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat room before we get into this show tonight. We got Machoon Walls in the chat room tonight. Hello, Tedesco's. We got Andrew Elder, the Wrestleview Fiend. Oh, the Fiend. What happened to Bray Wyatt again? Oh, my goodness. Nobody wants to ruin their careers in his stupid concept matches.
Gosh.
Interesting. So he gets mad and walks away, apparently. We got Jamel, who was in Phoenix tonight.
I wish we planned this a little bit better so we can have him on the show, but we didn't really know. We kind of knew we were doing the show. Kind of like it's always.
We could definitely send Jamel a.
Up in the air.
we could definitely send him a link to join the show if he wants to give us some live feedback from Phoenix.
Jamel, you're more than welcome to.
We'll let it. Well, he'll let us know if he can, and I will happily send that invitation to him. We have Daniel Shell in the chat room. We have Goosey in the chat room. We have Uncle Billy in the chat room. Again, it's been a while since we've done one of these things. This is really exciting to have somebody as people.
I'm a little overwhelmed right now, honestly, like in a good way, because I feel like I'm trying to think. When's the last time I was on a show? Was it December or was it even November?
I can't even. It was November because we paused in December, and then Emmeline, we were just like waiting. We kept waiting for Emmeline to be born. We were sure that she was coming early. It wound up she came a day before her due date.
I was gonna say, can we give a little backstory a little bit?
I don't know if we need to go into the whole thing.
Not the whole thing, but everybody should
quickly
because
it's a wrestling show here.
Yes. No, I'm just so she was ready to go, and then the doctor was like, "Yep, any day now, you're good." And then all of a sudden, she just was not. They're like, "Yeah, she shifted," and then she just took her sweet old time. Came for the due date.
Jamel, just message me on Twitter your email address, or send me a DM, and I'll shoot you an email with a link to the StreamYard here. Be fun.
But that was it.
Yes, that was it. That was it. We are now we have a 2-month-old. She's 2 months old today. So hopefully we can make these a little more frequent. We're definitely going to be doing a show next week as well. The Raw after WrestleMania. You got to do it. Oh my goodness. And how could we ever forget the Wrestleview Hype Machine, Quentin Walton? If you are on now, please subscribe, like, and share this awesome podcast. Otherwise, we'll go into another hiatus. Thank you. Or we'll have another kid. Who knows? I don't know.
Keep in mind, if I have to leave, I apologize, everybody.
Yes. The one thing about this kid is that she's a little different than Liliana. She doesn't sleep as much as Liliana did. But she got 2 vaccines today, so hopefully she'll be asleep. Not the vaccine, but just like your
typical
and rotavirus and stuff like that. Where
polio.
Everybody needs to be vaccinated against polio, just in case you get polio. It's floating around out there. Who knows? I guess I don't know. Turn into FDR or something like that. Anyway, let's talk about this Raw, because I got to tell you, when Paul Levesque took over, hi Paul.
Yeah, hi Paul.
Yeah, give it. There you go. When Paul Levesque took over the book of WWE from the old man who shall remain nameless, even though he's back in a way. The old man in July, I was hoping that something would change, and it has. For the most part, the show has been much better. It's been easier to watch. Yeah, there's some bad shows. There's no question. Look, you're never gonna have a great show that's 3 hours long every week. It's just not possible with this with this kind of genre. You know,
Right.
it's really, really tough. Oh, good. I got Jamel's thing. So let me accept this. I'm going to just copy the link. We're going to invite him on, and we'll have him on momentarily, which will be really nice. But I do want to just mention this about Triple H. You hope that it'll change, and it really did. People like Rhea Ripley, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, for example, that were going nowhere.
Yeah. So the Judgment Day in general.
The Judgment Day. We're going nowhere. They're major parts of WrestleMania this year.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Mysterio has went from being just a guy that is just there because his dad's a Hall of Famer, a total nepo baby, to being a legitimately great heel character. Who would have ever thought that?
I said to you, was it on Friday night? I said to you, was it Friday?
Like, yeah,
when he had his interaction with Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just amazing to see how someone like him, for example, went for like a legit heel. Like people genuinely
they hate his guts.
him and they hate him, guts. And it's incredible. And
like they know that everything else in the show is fake, but Dom is real. We hate him.
Certain things that you would predict that would not happen if you said it a year ago under the old man's regime. You would have been like, no way.
This match with Dominic and Rey Mysterio would be happening on WWE Main Event.
You would never even root for Judgment Day. You would never even be invested in Judgment Day. You would never even care about Judgment Day. You care about them now. You care about each individual essentially, and
right.
everything else.
Right. Rhea Ripley went from somebody who was in pointless tag teams with Liv Morgan this time last year and turning on her to actually becoming what she should have been.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
Exactly.
Winner of the 2023 Women's Royal Rumble. Total future star. You can stamp it on her forehead. Sami Zayn went from languishing to being one of the MVPs of WWE. Kevin Owens is on top. Finn Balor, I swear I'll never forget the image that he put on Twitter. And you could probably find it somewhere on his Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They did a thing when he was first on the roster. After he injured his shoulder and he came back and they had nothing for him, they were just having him do the demon thing every now and then where he was an actual demon. It wasn't Finn Balor, using this as war paint. He's a demon. Okay. They had a thing where I forget who he's facing. It might have been Baron Corbin where he's like, oh, you're just a little guy. Cause Vince is all about size. Oh, if you're short, that's it. You're a little guy. And he bought a backyard toy house. And Finn Balor was like, oh, I don't care. I love these things. And he took a picture on his Twitter of him sitting in some plastic log cabin. He was like that. And I was like, you're losing, sir.
Yeah.
You are truly pathetic.
You're losing at life.
This is sad.
This is sad.
For what you could be.
Sad circumstances.
For what you could be to what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I get it. He's, when you're in a bad situation, you try to cope with it. But that, succumbing to it sometimes, instead of fighting it is just not the best move. He's figured into one of the biggest matches that'll be on WrestleMania this weekend with the Hell in a Cell match against Edge, and he's going to be the demon, and it's not going to be demon like something out of Nightmare on Elm Street. It's going to be demon, this is war paint. Edge is going to be doing his thing to get into the mindset. How about go on.
So to add to that, because they're part of the same stable, but Damian Priest, for me personally, I said to myself, with Damian Priest, I'm like, I was one of the biggest haters of Damian Priest. I really was. I mean, if you look back on shows, and I really went really, really hard on him, and I'm like, but now, again, I'm the biggest fan in the world of him. Everybody, everybody in that stable, I definitely have my favorites, which is Rhea Ripley and everything, but still, I didn't care about that guy. I'm like, what is he? Who cares? You know what I mean? He was a Bad Bunny, but Bad Bunny stole the show that year. It has nothing to do with Damian Priest, but someone like him, I would have never guessed to even care about, and I did. Remember? Okay, so a few days ago, was it too, when we were we were looking back at some shows that we did podcasts, and we're talking about even Sami Zayn. And I've always enjoyed Sami Zayn, but he was in a crazy position where you didn't really know what was going on with his character and everything else. Again, one of the biggest stars to come out of this and involved with Roman Reigns and the Usos and the Bloodline. Like, you can't even imagine how much their improvement it's been in so many areas.
Right. Well, how about a guy like Austin Theory, who went from being this generic, oh, he's a millennial, so he takes lots of selfies, to what he's doing now. That promo that he did tonight was phenomenal. Was phenomenal. He's going to be facing John Cena in the opening match of WrestleMania. Like, that's a huge deal. You know, again, you know, when Paul Levesque took over the booking, I was really hoping that Vince would be able to hold off for at least a year before coming back. It didn't last quite that long. It lasted about 5 months, and then he came back. He staged his coup to get on the board of directors. Some people claim there are Vince's fingerprints on things. There's like BS reports, you know, that get posted that are like, oh, you know, last week on a pre-taped segment that we don't know what the segment was, and there's no proof of this, but, you know, somebody backstage told us that it got changed because they said wrestling. But then later on the night, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns are calling each other wrestlers and stuff like that. Total BS. It's like, I'm sorry. Like everybody's like, oh, Omos and Brock Lesnar, that's a total Vince match. And the plans for Brock Lesnar changed. It's like, maybe they did change, but that doesn't mean that Vince is back. I'm not really seeing 100%.
Not convinced of it. Yeah.
Maybe Vince got the Omos Brock match, but it doesn't matter, because that's actually an interesting match. You know, it's like WrestleMania is built around, you know, having an attraction match on the show. You know, you go back to like Big Show versus Akibono.
Yep.
You go back to, go back to the very first WrestleMania with Andre versus Big John Studd in the Body Slam Challenge, you know, $10,000 Body Slam Challenge, or even WrestleMania 2 with the WWF wrestlers versus the NFL players. There are always attraction matches on shows. You know, Floyd Mayweather versus the Big Show. You know, you got your celebrity matches. Those are attraction matches. You know, Logan Paul was an attraction match last year. Bad Bunny was an attraction match.
Right.
And sometimes those attraction matches are like, let's just put two big dudes in the ring.
Why not?
And just be in awe of the power. I don't think the match is going to go long, so it's not going to waste anybody's time. The segments have been bad. The only reason that people are like, oh, the segments stink, are because like Brock's not doing anything, because he's not supposed to. You're like, if Brock lifts Omos up and hits an F5 or gives him a German suplex, then who cares? You've already seen the big pitch of the match. Can Brock Lesnar lift this guy?
But also too, with them in particular, it's well, actually, no, I should say this. The way the structure of the show is now, where they're having two nights, why not? If it was going to be the one day again, 8 hours of wrestling, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. But when you split it up and make a whole weekend event out of it,
right?
A match
you can put a Brock you can put a Brock Lesnar versus Omos on there, and it won't hurt. Johnny Knoxville was an attraction match last year. It turned out to be great.
It didn't matter.
That was a ton of fun.
It brings,
that's where you really got to see the full potential of Sami Zayn.
It
really
brings back the full
in
entertainment component, where you're looking for the wrestling and the entertainment piece. When you make a whole big production out of the 2 days, there's so much room now where you can invest. You can have more people, and that's the thing. There.
So much of the show is built around long-term storytelling. Like this Edge versus Finn Balor thing has been going on for nearly a year.
Yeah, it has.
You know, I mean, this started under Vince, got better under Triple H. You know, Cody Rhodes, that whole story has been being told perfectly for a year. Austin Theory, this whole transition from here to now is long-term storytelling.
Which isn't that what you want?
It's exactly what you want.
Right.
It's exactly what you want.
Right.
And Dom versus Ray, long-term storytelling. Like all the matches that you're really hyped for are matches that have been building for months, and they didn't give anything away. All right, I want to pause real quick because we got the great Jamel Watson on.
Gosh,
he was live in Phoenix. Look at this guy. He is happy.
Hey guys.
To be here.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hold on, I think I got to switch. Switch something on my speaker. So
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right, can we get him?
Can you guys hear me talk? You guys hear me?
Baby, hold on. I think it's my fault. I think it's my fault. I think my speakers are all dicked up.
It is Mike's fault. I have no question.
There he is. All right, Jamel, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you before.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, how's it going, guys? First off, acknowledge Congratulations on the new baby. Saw the
thank you.
pictures. Adorable. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a fun show, beginning to end. I, well, and I hate to, you know what? Wrestleview tradition, we always start with positive stuff, and
Yes.
let's keep the positive train going. I have been to a few wrestling shows in my life. And here in Phoenix, I went to the 2019 Rumble. I was at the Elimination Chamber where Bray Wyatt won the WWE Championship, and we got a great Luke Harper, Randy Orton match. Which, if you ain't seen that, go and watch it.
Oh yeah, God.
I don't think I have.
I still thought that Luke Harper got robbed. He should have been in that match at WrestleMania. Should have been
That should have been
Harper
a
versus
three-way.
Wyatt versus Randy Orton.
That should have been a three-way. But anyway, before tonight, the best moment that I had ever seen live was Mark Henry's fake retirement speech back in 2013.
You were there for that?
I was there in Grand Rapids, salmon jacket, everything. It's like that's the number one thing that I've seen live.
Wow.
Close second is Dominic Mysterio, and everything was great because I swear the arena was deafening boos for Dominic, and when that Rey Mysterio music hit that pop, it tops. I saw them when they were in Detroit back in 2006 after Great American Bash, and it was a nice pop. Like, nothing compares to that because Dominic is so hated and he's such a great heel. And
I love it.
It's just like, it's like watching a kid. Like, both of you guys are teachers. It's like watching a kid finally get something in class, getting the stuff. Like, it's just like, okay, you finally got it. You figured out your times tables. You figured it out, and it's just fun watching him. And I went to the AEW show when they were in Phoenix last month. It was another fun show. Across both shows, Cody Rhodes got like the biggest reaction and pop. The Acclaim were number 2 because everybody loves the Acclaim. But the third reaction, like positive or like cheer or boo, it was Dominic and it was Ray, and it's because they've dialed it in, they figured it out, and he's so hateable. It's just nobody should be that happy to see a child be beaten up by their parents.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But they nailed it. They nailed it, and it's just,
they really did. And you know what's amazing too is he is such a great heel, and they keep giving him such great stuff. You know, like even the stuff when he was complaining a couple of weeks ago about like how Ray's a deadbeat. It's like, oh, all my friends had Mercedes, and you got me a BMW,
and a Beamer. Like, it's so funny.
Right. And then he goes,
like, imagine if your child or if you with your parents, you had that like. I don't want to lean into stereotypes, but Black parents, I can't imagine me talking to my mom the way that Dom talked to Angie on Friday. And then that's just like, it makes perfect sense. That would be the thing that gets Ray to snap. And it's just, I keep going back and forth.
Honestly, even Italian parents, it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. You get slapped.
So,
that's it.
Like, wow. It's like, wow, I got to bury my child because they lost their mind. And it's just like, I keep going back and forth, like what match should headline night 1. It was solidly Usos and versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. This story within it's clicking. It's just like it's not gonna headline it, but it's gonna be so much fun to watch. And it's just I can't gush enough about it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Where do you put Dominic and Ray? On what night, you know, because night 1 so far is looking pretty stacked. You got John
every night stacked.
Theory opening the show. You have I think that the tag team title match is going to main event. When I was recapping SmackDown for Roy on Friday and Charlotte Flair was out there, there is nothing that is signaling to me that she is like a good enough face to main event night 1. The last thing you want is to see people filing out of the arena so they can beat that LA traffic because your main event wasn't good. Even though it's night 1, you got a second night there. I think that tag team title match has got a main event. But, you know, you also have Logan Paul and Seth Rollins on that card that they announced already on night 1. So Ray and Dom, I guess, got to go night 2. I would have them open the show.
Yeah. It's so much fun. Like, there's so many stories that are like heading into the show that I'm really excited about. Like the Edge Judgment Day stuff, I'm excited that it's going to conclude, but also we're getting Hell in a Cell at WrestleMania and everything
Right.
involving the bloodline. It's
Oh.
just like they're clicking. If we do have to go into the negatives, and I think it's the glaring hole in Triple H's time as booking. It's surprising because it was his strength in NXT.
The
It's the
women.
women. Like neither of the
I
world
agree.
title matches. Like Asuka, Bianca Belair, that's going to be a good match. Rhea Charlotte's going to be a good match. But aside the history with Charlotte and Rhea, what's really hooking you to that one? And I'm so sick of the how they get along build that they do with these tags and these championship matches. Like they did this with Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair in 2021. It's just like that's not in an interesting way to tell a story. It's just it's kind of lazy. It's lazy booking, like Jim Cornette says, and it's frustrating because it's like the talent is just there, and the low point of the show was that tag team match with Mia
Sonya
Yim and
Deville
Candice
and
LeRae.
yeah.
I swear it was. You can hear it was just silent there, and it's so disappointing because all four are talented. It's just now they need like post WrestleMania. They need to do a whole lot of work, restructure, do something because you can't keep having. Like, it can't be like the way it is now.
100%.
That's what bothers me the most.
Well, look what they did with Damage Control tonight. You know, Trish and Lita are like, you know, there was so much truth in like, you know, what the Miz was saying tonight about like, you guys really are just kind of just wallpaper here for Becky Lynch to be used to get on the card. Like, you know, that's not exactly what he said, but that's the insinuation because that's what people are saying, and then they have to try to sell it. And Becky Lynch did that big, like, oh, I gotta talk real fast and huff and puff, and that was like her big promo. And I'm sorry, that just fell completely flat for me. That Damage Control versus Trish Lita and Becky match just it's not doing it for me, man.
I think in general,
and they devoted a lot of time to it tonight. I didn't think Becky Lynch versus Io Sky was particularly great. The crowd got into it, especially toward the end. It got better, but they looked horrible at certain points in that match. Becky Lynch totally whiffed on a drop kick. They mistimed a couple moves and a German suplex they botched. It was like, what, you know, what is this? Like, I get like, let's get Bayley and Damage Control on the card, but do we really need Trish and Lita in this? Like this kind of feels like what they were doing with the guys, where it's like, oh, we don't have anybody over, so let's bring in some legends.
I think in general that there's such a weird narrative going on with the women in general because of just the talent pool. Like Jamel was saying, is just there's such a huge variety of women.
Piper Niven,
but the ironic part about it is that there's an amazing amount of talent, but they're not utilizing it the way that they should be. You would, in theory, think that every kind of like storyline and any involvement with the women would be off the charts and entertaining, and it'd be like a home run.
Well,
but it's not happening though. There's only, like Jamel said, there's only really two things that you're excited for, given the history between, again, like Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. And the main change in that is only because like Rhea Ripley is like super hot now. So like they had their history, but she's super hot. But otherwise, when you look at it as a whole, there's a huge component missing with it. It truly is. So I don't know.
Let's hear what Jamel has to say about it. I know he wants to say.
You you guys nailed it. It's frustrating because it's like you see the talent there, and it's like something's not really connected with them, and it has to be fixed. Like it got to be adjusted. Like say what you will about Naomi and Sasha Banks walking out, you can't exactly blame them for kind of looking at the tag titles the way that they did. It's like, dog, we want to build this up, but we're not getting that material. And Ronda Rousey, again, say what you want about her, she wasn't like wrong with what her assessment was of how her and Liv Morgan's program got botched.
Not at all.
And it's
She's 100% right.
It's the effort that they put in. It's when you see the effort that goes into Ray and Dom. It's the effort you see that goes into the stuff with with everything bloodline related, and it's the effort you see even with Seth Rollins and Logan Paul, and it's just kind of damnable. Where it's just like you couldn't do that for any of the women's matches. Now, the showcase men's match seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. You got the Alpha Academy, you got Street Profits, Braun Strowman. He was massively over tonight too. Braun Strowman. Yeah. Like the Vikings are the least over of that bunch, but that's still going to be a fun match. Women's showcase, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just
no rhyme or reason at all.
Teams that got the shit beat out of them by Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, and also Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville. That's kind of it.
Well, Chelsea's just there for comedy relief.
She's great. Like I got zero complaints about Chelsea Green. I love her. I can't wait till her husband Mid Cardona comes back, and I'm looking forward to them as a pairing on TV. But it's just
that would be really something.
A lot of no Zack Ryder stuff. Is just Mid and Chelsea doing their thing, and it's gonna be fun. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun show. Like I don't think there's like a stinker match on the WrestleMania card. Stand and Deliver. I know you guys don't like keep up with NXT that much. I would suggest like kind of going into it because Stand and Deliver is going to be.
I'm going to be watching that show. I will absolutely watch that show.
Like I am so like Wesley's NXT North American Open Challenge is super fun, and it's all of this like the entire 3-day weekend or 3 shows that WWE is going to put on all look to be really good. It's just on the main roster, you want more with the women.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, to be fair to Triple H, you know, like they did put a lot of time and effort into Damage Control, but it for whatever reason it just never got there. Like I don't think Bayley is a particularly compelling character. Like other than ding dong hello stuff that she does, like she's a decent promo, but like once the bell rings, it just falls apart. It's hardly ever there. Like, you know, when she's put in big situations, she generally comes up short. Io Sky and Dakota Kai, I don't know whether it's from injuries or whatever, but they have not clicked, and it's like both of them, because when they came back at SummerSlam, both of them, Io was doing nothing and Dakota Kai was a free agent. She gets called up and it's like, oh, we're bringing you back. You know, it's a new regime in town. And for months, it's been like they're trying so hard to be perfect that they can't stay out of their own way. So a lot of like Io Sky matches are kind of spotty, and there's a lot of like rough spots in there because she's not hitting things clean. You know, same thing with Dakota Kai. You know, like the whole thing, they've tried. But it just hasn't clicked. It hasn't clicked. I mean, you know, the Becky Lynch thing has been going on since SummerSlam, but the addition of Trish and Lita just doesn't fit. It just doesn't make any sense. And they've even acknowledged how much it doesn't make sense, where it's like the last time we saw Lita, Becky Lynch was kicking her ass. It's like, hello. So my question is this, Jamel, like with how much Triple H had to reboot this product, with how much and no pun intended here, but with how much damage control he's had to do to fix so many people that could be great, like, you know, like a Damian Priest, like a Rhea Ripley, like a Finn Balor. Did he have too much to reboot and just hasn't gotten there with the women yet?
That might be the case, and if that's the case, get some additional help or lean on like the people that you have a little bit more. Honestly, and this is just beyond the women, and I think this is probably a bigger conversation. How many of the people that were brought back when Triple H was rehired, how many of them have clicked? I can count on like one, maybe you can say that Bronson Reed is starting to, because like the tsunami is like something to watch, but so many of these NXT people that were brought back, his darlings from Black and Gold, they haven't really clicked on that level yet. And it also is kind of an indictment on how Triple H was booking NXT during those like that last year and a half, when AEW was kicking their ass. Triple H kind of went in panic mode. It was just match. Characters weren't really complaining. Karrion Kross was the main guy, and things weren't really clicking, and it's just like some of those people aren't gonna work on this level. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if Johnny Gargano is going to work on the main roster. I'll say wait until Tommaso Ciampa comes back. I don't know if he's gonna make it. I don't know if him and Candice LeRae are gonna make it. I don't know what you're gonna do long term with Karrion Kross. Like, there's a lot of question marks post WrestleMania, and there's people who are in NXT now that I'm way more interested in seeing them come up and seeing what they can do. Like the Creed brothers, like Pretty Deadly, like
Creed brothers. Perez, I love the Creed brothers. I like
Grayson Carmelo
Waller.
Hayes, like Grayson. I'm not going. I was going to call him Australian Miz, or like Andrew always picks on Victoria, a better version of Miz. I was, but I'm not going to do that. That'd be disrespectful to Victoria. But there's so many new characters in NXT that we've gotten to look over in the 2.0 era, and it's just like, oh, that's the thing that was kind of missing with the last couple of years of NXT, fun characters. And say what you will about 2.0, say what you will about Shawn Michaels and Bruce Pritchard and whoever is booking, they figured it out. And a lot of these characters, like the seeds and the trees, they starting to bear fruit. Like, I'm invested in the Chase U stuff. Like, one of the matches this weekend I'm looking forward to the most is Chase U versus the Schism, because Ava Raine, Simone Johnson, is making her WWE's fourth generation star, is making her debut this weekend. It's in a no pressure situation for her. It's the best thing for her to bring her on kind of smoothly. And it's just, that's long term character investment and like interest with what Chase is doing. So,
and you also got to wonder if that means The Rock's gonna be in town.
I'm not sure he's gonna be like he's gonna make an appearance on stage, because I think he's kind of got that attitude. Like, if I'm there, I'm gonna overshadow people. I think he'll probably be backstage, like watching in the cut somewhere, just watching, hoping the daughter. I would not be surprised if we see in like the front row Rock's mom and Tamina and probably Nia Jax, like front row. I think they'll probably be there because, you know, that's granddaughter, that's their niece, little cousin. They'll be there to support. Yeah. But it should be interesting, and there's a lot to go over. Not so, Victoria, I want to ask you a question.
Here we go.
What do you think of Miz hosting WrestleMania? What do you think?
You know what?
WrestleMania they're gonna do with them?
That's actually a very good question, honestly.
God. God.
I had to get a Miz question in.
Like crazy. You're getting old. Mike's already like, you know what? I actually think it's a good idea. I really do. I think he's come into this role now as, you know, being in the company for so long. For him, he doesn't need to be as actively involved in like a big storyline or like these matches. Yes, like for me as a fan, of course you want him to be doing more and having like a big title match and everything, but I just don't think that's Miz now. I think Miz is just so seasoned in what he does. I think he's got so many other like projects that he's involved with, and he's a good, you know, he's a good spokesperson for the company. He's always like rah WWE and everything. I think it's actually a perfect role for him to just be hosting and kind of getting in everybody's business, because he's annoying like that, and he's just always getting involved and is an instigator and everything. So he can always just he's involved, but he's not involved. Like he could just kind of do his thing and look at everything and interview people and do funny stuff. And I think that's just kind of who he's become and what he's into, and helping, you know, more of the upcomers and rookies coming in and playing into other stuff that he's done with other people involved, other than like actively being involved in titles and stuff like that. Not to say that he's not going to be doing more stuff like that again, but like with Intercontinental Championship and stuff like that. But I think like this is the perfect thing for him right now, and I'm actually happy about it. So as long as he's involved like throughout the night, I'm good, you know. But I
completely agree with
transition, and I think for him too, personally, on a personal level, for him, you know, he's got his kids and everything, and I think that's really kind of the role he wants to take. He wants to spend more time with his family, and this kind of allows him to do that.
Come on.
What is wrong? What?
He's still going to the house shows.
okay.
Miz
on the
is
house
awesome.
shows.
Like, think about this. Miz was first introduced to us in the WWE back in 2004 on the $1 Million Television.
Oh,
Like, that's 20 years. Like, that will be 20 years next year.
it will.
And credit to him. Like, he's more than anybody. Like, if we're being honest, more than a certain gentleman who was in AEW for like a year, had a really good run. Had an Instagram story. Like, there was this fight backstage. Like, he has found a way to be smart with his body and preserve it. He's found a way to be useful to the company, and he's on that short list of WWE can send him out and do anything, and he'll not embarrass the company. And that's a skill that not a lot of people have. Like,
They
it's
could put him
him,
in
Titus
very worst
O'Neil.
segments that you could possibly imagine, and he can still thrive in them.
He can,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know that is the one thing. You know, you're kind of right, Jamel. He's kind of like, you know, like a virus that he can't die. You cannot kill the Miz here.
And you shouldn't want to kill the
Oh
Miz.
man,
But
you should not want to kill the Miz. You should not.
No,
Also, Mike, I know you had complaints about like the WrestleMania Goes Hollywood segments this year. They haven't really hit like they did last time in 2005. I thought tonight's was the best one. Like, obviously, like the Bloodline, it's not fair because it's like, oh, they're the strongest story, so of course it's the strongest one. It fit like the parody, in my opinion, fit in the 40-year-old version was good. Like it. These ones this year, I don't know what it was. Maybe it's the movie selection, but they didn't hit right except for the last two. In my
opinion, I agree. The stuff, the Joker thing was good with Seth Rollins until Becky Lynch showed up.
The
Bianca Belair and Montez Ford Titanic parody just fell flat. The Miz and Maurice and the Top Gun parody, I was like, it was just it didn't work.
Really?
No, you saw it. You know it didn't work. Come on, let's not pretend.
I actually enjoyed the Top Gun one. I did.
Of course you did. But you know, for the most part, yeah, they kind of fell flat. But like, you know, the last two were certainly better. The Goodfellas one was the best one. I did like the Brawling Brutes 40-Year-Old Virgin last week too. It was pretty good. It actually showed Ridge Holland in a pretty good way that you wouldn't expect to see him in. But you know, I mean, like,
it makes you miss some
about when you think about like the old ones, like most of those movies really fit the characters. Like, you know, Booker T is like Samuel L. Jackson in that Pulp Fiction role. The Undertaker as in the Clint Eastwood
Dirty Harry
Last Outlaw, the Dirty Harry movie was great. You know, Triple H and Braveheart was stupid. John Cena, but it was fun. But John Cena and JBL and the Few Good Men parody, like those things really hit. I don't know. I don't know if they were just like worried about like taking too many chances with people or whatever, but it seemed like they were too cautious and it kind of fell flat. Like they had a chance to do some really good stuff and it didn't work out.
I wonder if they got to choose the movies that they did. Because if they
I was just going to say that. I think that that's a huge part of it, and I think that's maybe why there is a disconnect with some of them. Because if you think about it, to kind of pull what the both of you were saying, Seth Rollins is very reminiscent of like the Joker type, right? Like the way he laughs and the way he like is like that erratic behavior and stuff like that. Like that's very. That emulates his like, character a little bit. So I think that has a lot to do with that. If they didn't get to choose, maybe they didn't connect. Like, who knows? Like Montez Ford and Bianca Belair, they're probably like, hey, maybe we're not Titanic fans. Like, we're not, you know what I mean? Even though they're married, like still they're like, whatever, you know. But that's a good point. I think that's probably why some of them didn't hit the mark. Maybe they didn't get to choose, and you know, the ones that did get to choose, maybe like Seth Rollins, like, hey, why don't I do the Joker? It could very well have been that. Who knows?
Well, I don't want to overshadow or take up too much of the show because it's all about you guys. It's post
Jamel,
Raw.
Love you,
your show.
Actually, I was just gonna make my big transition back to Raw because I do want to get your opinion on this. You know, it's been 2 years and you were there in person, so I mean you have your finger on the pulse of like, you know, what's hot right now. And what feels like a thing that could happen. It's been 2 years of a Roman Reigns title run about, you know, no, it has been 2 years. It's been 2.5, right?
It's closer to 3. It's closer to 3 now.
Closer to 3 now. If there was ever a time to pull the trigger, to me, just watching on TV, it feels like this weekend is the time. Does that come through live? The Cody Rhodes reaction.
It does very much so. Like Cody, undeniably, again, across the 2 shows that I went to for WWE and AEW, he clearly got the biggest reaction, most sustained pop. Even during like the commercial stuff when they were prepping for the main event, people were still going wild for him. Like it feels like it's time to move on to a different person. It feels like that, and he feels like the right one. Like the closest that I felt it was during Clash at the Castle with Drew, and like other guys who were in the chat who were on the live stream with me. We felt like it really did feel like, oh, this could be the one, but none have felt this like this definitive. Like, oh, Roman's going to lose. Like, not he's going to lose because it makes all the sense in the world. And it's just, and I want to give Roman Reigns credit because this might be some of the last time that he's champ, or he might be gone for a while. You go back to WrestleMania 34, the New Orleans one, the second Brock match, and even though he had improved some, his work as a character is just not. It's like night and day, and he's tremendous. Like for me, still the most impressive thing is last week what he didn't say, his mannerism, like that stuff is like that's incredible what he's done. But it's time for someone new to come along. It's time for the next chapter of the bloodline. And there were a couple of boos way up in the section that I was, but they were so minimal, it didn't even matter. Like, and that's only because people love the bloodline. Like, and that they were getting cheers, but it's Cody. Like, it has to be Cody, and I don't know what they're gonna do.
I think that's a really great point you make about his character work. From earlier years. To me, it's almost like Roman Reigns was, like some of these people trying to fit into the WrestleMania commercials, where it's like, oh, this WrestleMania commercial is not really certainly not doesn't fit their character, like Bianca and Montez on Titanic or whatever. It was just kind of goofy. It's like they were trying to make Roman Reigns into something that he could never be. That kind of face that's like, their next John Cena, where, right now I'm doing a retro recap of WrestleMania 20. And it's like John Cena didn't even start off as like good guy Cena when he won that United States title from Big Show. It was like he cheated to win. They were doing a thing where he was like a tweener. He only kind of morphed into that because he became what the company needed him to become, so they can move to PG and get their sponsors back. But you don't need to like that. That's not Roman Reigns. They tried to force that for years, didn't work. Then all of a sudden he becomes a heel under Paul Heyman and holds this title for 2.5 years, and he's one of the biggest superstars. This is one of the most legendary runs in professional wrestling history, if you really think about it.
He is the star. Like, he is the biggest star currently in wrestling across companies,
because they stopped trying to force him into something that he couldn't be.
You can't make the next John Cena. You have to be the first Roman Reigns. That's where they struggled with for years, where not even just Roman Reigns, everybody had to be the next John Cena. They were trying to fill that role. You can't fill that role. You need to make a new role. You need to have a new individual. And I think with Roman Reigns,
makes me think. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you brought up. It brings up Bianca Belair. She's now approaching that Cena territory of she might need to do something different. But my train's coming. I will catch you guys next time. First off, love you. I love the show. Congratulations again to the baby. WrestleMania, woo. Quick plug. I am doing live streams for both nights of WrestleMania and NXT Stand and Deliver. I'm dropping predictions videos, and this year I'm going to do tribute to Wrestleview Weekly and Doug. I'm not drinking. I'm eating spicy food for every pick I get wrong. I got some really hot sauce. And for the 2 title matches, Roman, Cody, and Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes, they're my golden locks. If I get one of those wrong, I'm doing the Pocky one chip challenge.
Oh God.
Shit. So I just got to get one wrong. So there's so much risk. Either way, I'm going to be hot for a while, and Tuesday's going to be uncomfortable. But thank you guys for having me on.
Find Jamel at Eastside Reviews. He's the best.
Peace.
Take care, Jamel. Thanks so much,
Jamel,
buddy.
let us know when you get home.
He's great. We love Jamel here. Yeah, definitely check out his stuff, Eastside Reviews. He's really he has some great stuff.
Yeah, he does not just wrestling,
Good
he does
dude.
other movies and stuff like that too. And
Yeah,
movies and shows. So and
you
he's very, as you can see, he's good conversationalist. So it's always very enjoyable to watch him.
and he knows his stuff, and you probably like I've been seeing him a ton on my Facebook Reels videos and stuff like that.
I love it.
So he ranking top 5 WrestleMania main events and stuff like that. So he's got it going on. He's got a great platform. Jamel's doing great. Maybe we can steal him here for Wrestleview one day.
Yeah, really, exactly.
So yeah, Jamel brought up a really good point about like Roman Reigns and his character work and how he's just firing on all cylinders now. But it is, to me, like at Clash at the Castle, I was one of the people that believed that Drew McIntyre was going to end it, but at the end of the match when he didn't end it, and it was still a great match. I really loved the match, and they added that new wrinkle of Solo Sikoa, joining the Bloodline at that point. It's like, you're not going to have him hold the title for 2 years and end it at Clash at the Castle. You're not going to have him hold the title for 2 years and even end it in Saudi Arabia. There's only one place that it can end, and it's got to be WrestleMania, and it can never be against The Rock. It has to be against somebody like Cody Rhodes. We can't have The Rock at 51 years old coming and beating Roman Reigns after a 2-year title reign. So thank God, they couldn't make the schedules match up, and thank God it's Cody Rhodes. And even think about
Hold on real quick. Hold on. You're very welcome, Jamel. And please let us know when you get home. I get. Oh
God, she's such a mother.
The mom in me.
She's such a mother. So, no, I forgot what I was gonna say.
No, so you're saying with it has to be WrestleMania. It can't have The Rock come in and fight and beat him.
Yep.
What? I'm sorry.
Forgot. Thanks. Totally forgot. But yeah, it has to be Cody Rhodes. Like you're not gonna have him hold the title for 2 years, 2.5 years, and have it end anywhere but WrestleMania. And that's okay. That's what I want to bring up now. Even the bloodline under Triple H has been so much better. With Vince, it was just like, have Roman Reigns run through everybody. Oops, we don't have a star. Let's just bring back Brock Lesnar. Vince's big idea last year for Roman Reigns was Brock Lesnar in the greatest WrestleMania main event of all time last year, and then Brock Lesnar again at SummerSlam. And what would it have been this year? Roman versus The Rock. That was Vince's big idea. Under Triple H, they were able to use the bloodline to elevate Sami Zayn to a level that under Vince would never have happened. And that all started under Triple H. Under Triple H, Kevin Owens gets raised to a level that he hadn't ever really touched. He had been in the main event scene a couple times, but now it's at a different level. Under Triple H, they've used the bloodline to elevate so many people, including Cody Rhodes, and augment some of these great stories and some of the greatest segments of this millennium so far. 23 years into this millennium have been these bloodline segments. The trial of Sami Zayn, the segment where Roman Reigns made Sami Zayn an honorary Uso. This all happened under Triple H as well. This budding, this furthering of the bloodline umbrella here, making them more than just like this one-dimensional heel faction and making them multifaceted, where you have the Jey Uso drama. Is Jey going to turn on his brothers? He's going to turn the bloodline? He's going to go with Sami Zayn? What's going to happen with Jey? What's happening with Sami Zayn? How are they imploding from the inside? What's going on with Solo Sikoa? Great stuff. And yeah, and Jamel mentions Kevin Owens is going to be main eventing WrestleMania probably on night 1. That'll be back-to-back main events for Kevin Owens.
I think in general
He
too,
faced Stone Cold Steve Austin last year.
when you look at the different, when you compare Vince and Triple H, with Vince, if his intention was to involve The Rock, right? He relies heavily on people who've been there, legends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Triple H is trying to utilize the talent that he does have, and that's the best move. You cannot always rely, and even it's not always a win either. I don't think everybody, yes, and like as a one-off type thing where you're not looking for like the title, or you're just like a fun match between like The Rock and Roman Reigns, that'd be fine. Nothing to do with the title on the line, just like a match between them, again, because they're family. That would have been okay. But in terms of looking at, again, longevity of your story and your character, no, that doesn't make sense to have The Rock be the one to beat Roman Reigns. Fun match, yeah, fine, cool, great. But when you're looking at that from the other side of it, no, you need to look at what's sustainable for the company and what makes it best for the company. So utilizing the individuals that are, you could still involve, again, a whole storyline with the family, which they did with the bloodline, but now you're adding in Cody Rhodes, who's there all the time, he's wrestling, everything else. And then you're adding in, okay, again, like Jamel's saying here, thanks to the bloodline, 7 dudes are going to be elevated. Roman, Cody, Sammy, Jay, KO, Jimmy, and Solo. They're all going to be involved. Instead of just having one person, and that's exactly it, Jamel, one person, The Rock, who's obviously a well-established person, versus now you have like 7 other people
it's like
who they involved.
Yeah, you'd be going from like, Roman Reigns, who's part-time, to a guy who will never be around to defend the title.
No.
In anything like that. And the other thing is it's just we've had enough of these part-time champions. It's like, we have to have somebody who's on consistently full-time. It's about time. Cody Rhodes will be able to do that. And again, like the way Vince was booking it, like I talked last year, after the WrestleMania main event, when Roman Reigns beat Brock Lesnar, he had already beaten basically everybody on the roster twice by that point. Edge had, been beaten twice. Kevin Owens had been beaten. Anybody they put in his path, essentially, he just trounced them. With the same kind of formula. He wrestles them and then interference and it's over. Jey Uso had been beaten. I talked about how it felt like it wasn't just a season finale with the Roman Reigns beating Brock Lesnar. It's like, where do you go from here? It felt like it was a series finale.
Mm-hmm.
And now look what they've done. They've kind of scaled back on making Roman Reigns so uber dominant and showing some holes in the bloodline, finally showing some kinks in the armor here. And it's really created quite a compelling couple of matches for Roman Reigns. And the best matches of his title reign so far have basically happened this, in the last 6 months, with Drew McIntyre, with Logan Paul, with Kevin Owens, with Sami Zayn.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to culminate with Cody Rhodes on Sunday at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, I can't say enough good about the product right now. I know there's some people that just want to bury their heads in the sand and say, WWE stinks. It'll never be good. These people stink. And I'm sorry. I've been waiting for them to figure it out. I knew they couldn't do it with Vince McMahon. There was no way they were ever going to get to this level of storytelling with Vince McMahon. He was over the hill. He lost it years ago, decade ago. He lost it. And yes, because they have great strategists on their team, they can maneuver their way into decent TV deals and sponsorships and everything. But the storytelling, it was always, like everybody was like patting themselves on the back for getting $1 billion from Fox to bring SmackDown over there and $750 million to bring Raw back to the USA Network. But I said it back in 2019. That's one of the shows that we're listening to. I really want. We were kind of curious to, look at that 24/7 title rant, in retrospect.
Sometimes we look back
and
at
shows. And I said in 2019, it's not the TV deals now. They got those TV deals. They started negotiating them 2 years before they even signed, where they signed them. when they were still a little hotter than they were at that point. I said, it's going to be the next TV deals you got to worry about. And of course, they are worried about their TV deals now. They didn't do well with Fox under Vince. It's been great for the last couple months. And I do have a feeling that they're going to blame Triple H directly for saying, oh, well, we didn't get these good TV deals because he has the book, when really they're judging everything based on the declining numbers under Vince McMahon's reign of terror on the storylines. So that's going to stink when it eventually gets there. But they're set up, in the future to make a big comeback, not just in terms of like, we got sponsorship money, we got this and that, but they're also going to get a big return coming up. I feel like it's going to happen in the next year that you're going to start seeing more and more fans coming back to this product. I think people are kind of bullish on buying in completely, especially with the terrible news that Vince McMahon came back. I'm sorry, it is terrible news that he's back. But I think after this WrestleMania, when because everybody watches WrestleMania, people are going to watch it and they're going to see what Triple H created, what kind of storylines he put together. And I think we're going to see a big return of fans.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I really don't have anything to add, because I feel like we have talked about it in great detail about just in general how much better things are going and how just excited to watch wrestling again. Everyone needed that resurgence with this company, because things were, things had momentarily been fine where like you would get like glimpses of things that would be really cool and you would be really excited about, but
and then they disappoint.
Yeah. And then it's a thing too, where like, I feel like there was more times on the fence where I was just like, oh, I really don't feel like watching it tonight. Again, if I wasn't doing the show and everything else, it's like, no, I am going to skip it. Like, and now I'm at the point where I want to watch everything when I can. I want to watch Raw. I want to watch SmackDown. I want to watch NXT. Everything that I can watch, I want to watch.
Yeah.
And even too, like on the flip side, even like AEW, like I want to watch what's going on with them too, to see how they're competing with WWE and stuff. So it just makes it just a whole other side now where I feel like I really want to be doing this again, and I really want to be having these discussions and so it's great. And I think that if they keep going down this trajectory, it only can go up from here. Because you guys talked about before, you and Jamel, about how you proposed a question to Jamel about how the women, like, do you think it's a situation where where Triple H just has a lot? I do. I think when so much damage has been done, it takes a lot to rebuild, and you got to give Triple H a lot of credit, because he rebuilt a lot in a short amount of time within like these 5 months.
And he
has to now, and again, you have to always just like fine tune and look. And now you do have to look at the women's division. There's so much that he changed that progressed with the men. You really have to look at the women's division heavily and see what you can change there.
Yeah, I do think that like he did put a lot of he did put effort into damage control and it just didn't work. And that's going to happen sometimes. Like they put a lot of time into like that Miz and Dexter Lumis storyline. I'm not saying this to pick this time. I'm dead serious. They put a lot of time into that Miz Dexter Lumis storyline, and it just didn't work. There are some things that he did, for a long-term storytelling, attempt that didn't work. Dexter Lumis and Miz was one of them. Damage control, it's kind of not working either. And I don't, I don't know if that's really his fault or whatever it is. They did have some glimpses of good stuff, with the Bianca Belair thing, a Clash of the Castle. Like they were pretty good there, in Bayley's return match. But the Saudi match with Bianca Belair wasn't that great. War Games was fine, but for the most part, I think they just came up short just because
I think you have to look at it
but for the rest of them, it's like, like he brought back Candice LeRae, who could be great. This year, she's definitely not WrestleMania ready. She just kind of came back and just exists right now. Mia Yim is another person who's just kind of existing. But, changing Piper Niven back to Piper Niven from Dewdrop is a good start. Like they're set up for, to kind of revamp that roster in the coming months. Problem, I think, actually is some of the quote unquote main event talent they have right now. Charlotte Flair is act is kind of stretched thin.
I think you can't. Well,
I think Becky Lynch is a shell of her former self.
You have to.
I think that's the person that they're trying to pin their main event hopes on with Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair. Just a year into her title reign, I'm sorry, it has not been a great year. She hasn't had many standout matches. Her character work is very one-dimensional, and that hasn't really changed. There aren't any new wrinkles there. Asuka is starting to show some things, but this whole feud with Bianca Belair has been a huge disappointment. As is most of Bianca Belair's title reign. And Becky Lynch, I'm sorry, has jumped the shark. She was starting to jump the shark in 2020, before the pandemic, when she was coming out dressed like Elton John every week, and doing the over the top. It's too much. She's trying way too hard. And those are the people that are left behind from the Vince craziness. I think you have to revamp all those characters. It's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah, and it might be a lot. Again, it's a lot in a short amount of time. We can't work miracles here, but we really do have. They really do have to sit, and you can't also too, like you said before, you can't blame everything on him. There are certain times too when you could put all the effort you want into somebody's character. They also have to put in the effort too. They also have to make it work, and they have to connect. So when they're not connecting, and they're not, and like you said just now too, when there's also this individual
Vince's fault,
complacent, it's like
that's totally Vince's fault right there too. Like, yes, you're right. Bianca Belair has never truly recovered from that. Never truly recovered.
No, and that was Vince's fault, and that was a huge thing. I mean, that got.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Rhea Ripley probably is the answer. Changing the title over to Asuka probably is the answer to giving these people some new focus. Bianca Belair isn't going to reboot and refocus while she's champion. She had you have to get people to care about her again and get her back in the chase. You have to do the same. Charlotte Flair, she's just going to be there like a Roman Reigns, like a female Roman Reigns. She'll always be there, kind of. Doing that,
but with the exception of that,
but Rhea Ripley is it's her time. It's time for her to step up and take that role. Becky Lynch needs a big refocus.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the difference between what happened with Roman and what's happening with Charlotte Flair, though. Like you said, like kind of that thing that's never going to go away. Roman really turned it around, where now you're getting multiple people who are involved, and you became invested again. You actually want Roman. I mean, it's time to have belt off him, but what I'm saying is people were very involved in the storylines and enjoyed them. With Charlotte, when you have a whole division that's just not working, it is going to become boring because there's nobody else to work with. They already went to the roster, and then when you don't have anybody else believable to beat those individuals, then you're going to recycle all those other people that did work again. But then that becomes a problem because you can't start recycling everybody. So the difference between Charlotte and Roman at this point is that Roman had all these other people to work with, and Charlotte doesn't have all these other people to work with in that sense.
That's a good point.
Because they're forced to recycle, and you can't recycle. You have to start.
Well, Roman had a lot of recycled feuds under Vince, for sure. There's a ton of recycling there. But yeah, the women's roster just isn't deep enough, and they have so many right now that just aren't doing anything. It's really a problem, and it's going to be a hard problem to fix. But I think if anybody's up for the challenge, it's Triple H. He's done a great job so far, so I really can't. Vince in the chat room is asking about Bray Wyatt right now. Supposed to be Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. I mean, look, you never say never, but it does not look like it's happening right now at WrestleMania at all.
So can we talk about that a little bit? Because I too, obviously with having the baby and everything, I haven't been as involved with everything going on. So what are the kind of things going around that Bray Wyatt is having these issues? And
so look,
the shortened version.
You read about
version of it.
You read about some of these some of these reports, and it's like, you take everything with a grain of salt. But look what happened to LA Knight at the Royal Rumble. He was red hot. Really, that segment with Bray Wyatt and the Undertaker and LA Knight. LA Knight had a ton of heat and people were into his stuff. They were saying his catchphrase, and then he goes and does that clown show match with Bray Wyatt. This concept match. I'm tired of his type of concept matches.
The Curse of Bray Wyatt.
And everybody looked at like what happened to LA Knight. I really think everybody took a good, long, hard look at what happened to LA Knight. And I'm sorry, with Bray Wyatt, absence did not make the heart grow fonder. In retrospect, I'm sorry, I got to put myself over here. Everything I said about The Fiend was 100,000% true. About how he's wrecking wrestling, how he's hurting careers, how it doesn't work for this genre. And I think people realize in retrospect, my God, look what The Fiend did to. How about somebody that he didn't even face, but just got brought into the umbrella of craziness that was that storyline. Alexa Bliss's career, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, is over. It's over. She'll never be anything close to what she was prior to that Fiend thing. It ruined her. And people saw that. And a lot of people like Brock Lesnar said, I don't want to be involved with this. I'd rather not be in a storyline with this guy. So when they start getting things like that, for all intent, they probably wanted it to be Brock versus Bray. Brock has enough pull to say, I'm not working with this guy. You're not putting me in a goddamn clown show match and hurt. And I'm not selling for this goofy shit. I'm not doing anything. So then it's like, all right, we'll do Bobby Lashley. And, the story going around is that, he got really pissed that no one wants to work with him, and is like, fine, forget it. I'm done. So initially, like Dave Meltzer, but then you read reports that Dave Meltzer says that he has like some kind of like viral infection, is very sick, and he can't perform right now.
So you really don't really know what he knows.
I do think the sickness is a cover up for
what's going, what everybody else is saying.
He's just going to fade away.
Yeah.
Look what happened to Randy Orton. Like that was just a disaster in every sense of the word. In every sense of the word.
And he's Randy Orton.
I know.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a really good point. Yeah. So
it killed Seth Rollins.
To answer Vince's question,
think about what happened to Seth Rollins. He went from being the most over face in the company to seeing the Fiend and crying in that one segment. By December, he was doing the Monday Night Messiah thing because he had no more credibility as a face. That Hell in a Cell match murdered him.
Yeah, the curse of Bray Wyatt.
The curse of Bray Wyatt.
So to answer your question,
Braun Strowman worked with him and got fired.
It's just a whole bunch of things happened in retrospect, and nobody really knows. But everyone's making speculation at this point. But I guess it's kind of doesn't have to be said. But I feel for Bobby Lashley.
Well, I actually, and that's a great point too. With Bobby Lashley. Okay, so like, let's say that Brock was like, all right, fine, I'll work with Bray Wyatt, and then Bray Wyatt goes away. And now Brock is left with that WrestleMania match. Do you really think they're leaving Brock Lesnar off the WrestleMania?
Good, Jamel. I'm glad you're home.
Do you really think that they're going to leave Brock Lesnar off of the WrestleMania card? Seriously, do you think they would leave him off the WrestleMania card if he lost his match?
Oh, absolutely not.
Right. So why is Bobby Lashley off the WrestleMania card?
Yeah, no. See, that bothers me because I find Bobby Lashley to be amazing, and he deserves a spot. I'm sorry. Like,
they should make it right by Bobby Lashley. Seriously, because he has been great, especially under Triple H. I think what they should do is have Brock Lesnar versus Omos on night one. I think Lesnar should beat Omos, and then Lashley should attack him after the match and say, "Let's have a rubber match," which got screwed up anyway at the Royal Rumble. Or I'm sorry, at Elimination Chamber. They should have had a total finish to that match, that rubber match. Maybe they can salvage it and do it on night two. Is it possible?
So I think so. And Paul, are you listening? Please do that. Like, seriously, just someone like him does not deserve to be off the card. Like, literally other people, I'd be like, all right, whatever. Like, who cares? But Bobby Lashley is
That's how I would do it.
Bobby Lashley's worked his ass off, and he I'm sorry, he deserves a spot. That's not an individual that you say like, oh yeah, let's throw to the wayside and not whatever. Can't do that.
Well, Joel's right. Bray Wyatt can't work normal matches because he's not a good wrestler as it is. He's already got that handicap against him, and now he's trying to reinvent what professional wrestling is.
Now,
which is, it's not going to work. That flew with Vince because Vince thinks that you don't need to have faces and heels in order to build matches, and he got proven wrong time and time again trying that shtick. Now it's like, oh, we don't even have to have believable worked matches anymore. Now we can just do magic, and I'm sorry, it's just not going to work. Even Undertaker at his worst, wasn't doing all of that goofy crap. He just wasn't.
No, I yeah, absolutely.
And Jamel's right. Bobby Lashley's been grinding and earn that Mania slot. I hope that he wins the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and uses that to propel to WrestleMania match. I still think they should do Brock and Bobby at WrestleMania.
This is a good question. They haven't addressed the match not happening, right?
No, they haven't done anything. They just all of a sudden Bobby's just in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Okay. That's it.
All right. So hopefully if that's really not just the case and something else does happen.
We'll see. I have a feeling that they're just like, well, Bobby, better luck next year.
Which is horrible.
I hope that that's not the case, but it very well could be. It very well could be. So we'll see. But if it was Brock Lesnar, they wouldn't leave him off. So I don't know why it's good.
Yeah, I don't know why
Bobby Lashley
is getting that treatment.
Because it could have been either of them facing Bray Wyatt. It really could have been. And because Brock has pull, it turned out to be Bobby. Bobby doesn't have as much pull as Brock does.
Maybe Brock can.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Speak up for Bobby Lashley and say, hey, get this guy a match.
Get that rubber match in there. We'll see what happens. But, the Bray Wyatt thing was a disaster. They had a great, I will say this. The return teases, the White Rabbit thing was fantastic. It got everybody buzzing. His return at Extreme Rules in Philadelphia was really, really well done. That return promo on SmackDown where he was emotional and talking about, everything that he had been through was touching and kind of beautiful. And then the Uncle Howdy stuff started up, and then, he doesn't wrestle for a while, and then he finally wrestles, and it's that, Cinnamon Toast Crunch horror match against LA Knight. And it's like, all right, you know what? It's the same shit. I'm kind of checked out on this guy. I'm kind of checked out. And Brett's right. Undertaker can tell an in-ring story. That's the other thing too.
Yeah,
it's like,
that's true.
Undertaker had some magic stuff. They went way overboard in 1998 with the magic stuff, but he could still go in the ring.
Yeah.
Bray cannot.
That's the difference. That's a major difference, actually.
Yeah. And like Bray Wyatt's just literally relying on smoke and mirrors to get through all of his matches. And I guess it worked. I mean, some people really liked the Firefly Funhouse match at against John Cena. I was meh on it.
I think people just enjoyed it because of the circumstances. I don't necessarily know.
I think that was like a pandemic thing.
Yeah, I agree, because I don't necessarily think that had that been like a thing of a regular year, a normal year, I don't think that would have gone over as well. But I think because it was the pandemic,
right?
That's what you're kind of forced with the thing, that it was good.
And Jamel saying guys who face Taker didn't have their characters destroyed by working with him. Yeah, 100%.
Right. You worked with
Undertaker,
Undertaker is a privilege, and your career went on the up and ups.
Being in the ring with him in and of itself is a career highlight.
It was
for some
exactly.
guys.
It's something
you look at like what he did
aspire to.
Well, you look at what he did for Randy Orton. Undertaker had that feud with Randy Orton in 2005, I guess, almost in 2006. Randy Orton was. What is that face?
I'm exhausted.
Okay. Randy Orton was.
Sorry, everyone.
Randy Orton was having so many backstage troubles at that time. He was making people, really upsetting people. He was showing up under the influence sometimes. He was doing things in people's bags that he shouldn't be doing. He was getting in trouble a lot. And really, they were on the cusp multiple times throughout Randy Orton's tenure. They've been on the cusp of letting that guy go. And Undertaker basically took him and saved his career at that time and elevated him and showed them why you want to keep Randy Orton. He gave him so much. They mentioned the John Cena matches that he had in 2003. That was a proving ground for John Cena at Vengeance in 2003. He's been used as proving grounds a lot for people through the years. The Edge stuff really turned Edge from like a guy who was in the world title picture to like made him into a Hall of Famer, as a single star, not just the tag team guy that did pretty good in the main event scene, but Undertaker put him over the top.
Blessing, curse. Taker's a blessing, praise the curse.
So whatever Undertaker was in his career, like the only thing that they had was they both did special effects. But with Undertaker, it always made sense, and it helped the story, and it helped the people at the end. Whereas Bray Wyatt, whatever Undertaker does good, Bray Wyatt is the complete antithesis of that. And it doesn't mean that he's a bad guy. I feel bad. Like I'm happy that he overcame some of the personal demons that he had, but it was never going to work out. It was just never going to work out. So that's that for Bray Wyatt. But and I think we should start to wind the show down now because we've been going for a little while. But again, this show, if I could sum up this Raw overall, there was no stories being furthered tonight other than the Solo Sikoa thing, losing his undefeated streak to Cody Rhodes. But there was no like major storytelling happening tonight. It was like they got to the show and they're done with all their big story arcs now. Now tonight was just about getting people hyped for WrestleMania and maintaining that hype. This was just like servicing the stories, but not furthering. But them. All of them are at this level, and this show was just there just to keep them at that level and push into the weekend. So yeah, Mick Foley, another guy worked with Undertaker. My God, Kane had a whole career because of the Undertaker.
Right,
Kane's a Hall of Famer because of the Undertaker. Undertaker worked with Big Show and taught Big Show how to be an effective big man. His stuff with Undertaker in 2008 really turned Big Show from just like that big fat dude in a singlet that just happened to be 7 feet to a giant. Let him know, made him figure out how to work as a big man, turned him into a Hall of Famer.
Can I work with Undertaker? Maybe I'll start.
Right. There's just so many guys, so many freaking guys that he helped through the years. Just so many.
He just helped me out.
So again, I like this show. I thought this is a really good Raw. A lot of good enhancement stuff. A lot of good things just to kind of again service the storylines and just get you there. They didn't even try anything else with Bianca Belair and Asuka because it's been a disaster every week. So they just did a couple video packages and just move on with their lives.
And I think it's everything that a Raw before WrestleMania should be.
Yep. So we're looking forward to getting back here. Raw after WrestleMania, post Raw. We'll be back next week. This Thursday, we'll have our annual Wrestleview WrestleMania predictions podcast. So make sure you tune in to that. WrestleMania coverage Saturday and Sunday. We'll have live shows covering immediately following the shows, covering everything that happened on WrestleMania, of course, post Raw next week. We're looking forward to that. Until then, it's great to have Victoria back and be chatting with her again. So we'll see you next. We'll both see you on Thursday. We'll be on that show.
Yeah, I'm going to come in like intermittently throughout.
Yeah, we'll see. But until then, I'm Mike Tedesco.
I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Have a great night, everybody. Thanks so much. And thank you to Jamel. Check out Eastside Reviews. Make sure you check out Eastside Reviews. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.